Hello and welcome to Every Rock Has a Story. Before I do today's story, I'm so excited to show you 3 new science journal pages that I just got from some of my first grade friends who are watching this. Take a look. This first one is from my friend William in first grade, and he's drawn some pictures of the malachite from the copper campfire. There's that green and brown malachite. He's even got a little bit of blue there, which I love because there's a mineral called azurite, which is beautiful blue, and you almost always find it with the malachite. Great colors. Copper makes money, and malachite, it is made of copper. That's true. Remember, copper makes money because everybody needs it to get electricity into our houses and those copper wires. Great page, William. This one's from my friend Isha, also in first grade. Isha has used the computer to draw these different boxes with ideas in them. This was about the iPhone rock story. Lepidolite, coltan, eudialyte all have the ingredients that we need to make iPhones. And then over here, Isha wonders, what earth elements are there? There's a whole bunch of rare earth elements. And that observation, I notice that those rocks are important to make those iPhones work. Great page, great organization. And this one's from my first grade friend Cooper. Cooper has drawn the talc. There's that talc and the mica, and it looks like he's chipping at them. In fact, Cooper told me he's chipping the talc, but it makes those little bitty pieces because the talc is so soft. I love the drawing and the action here. These are wonderful, wonderful pictures, and I'm so happy and grateful to Cooper and to Isha and to William for sharing your journal pages with me. I hope you other kids are making science journal pages as well. And I hope you make one about today's rock. Today's rock is special because it's not on the table. I couldn't leave it on the table, and I think as soon as I show it to you, you'll see why I couldn't leave it on the table all this time. This is today's rock. Can you tell what it is? Oh my goodness, what's happening on my fingers? Ice. This is ice. Cold. Melting ice in my hands, dripping on my table. My goodness, I'm going to put it back in here so it doesn't drip anymore. My goodness, but we can put it there to remind us. Woo! Cold. Ice. Ice is a real mineral. Solid water. A lot of people don't know that ice is a mineral, and ice can be a rock too. I wonder if you can think of any places on Earth where you can find real ice in nature. Of course, I made this one just in my freezer last night. But you can find ice out in nature in some very cold places. I'll show you one place in nature that I just went to that has beautiful ice. Let me show you a picture. Here is where I went last summer, 2019. Can you see what that's a picture of? There, a beautiful glacier. That's frozen white ice, and some of it's covered with dirt and rocks and rubble, and it's going down like a river of ice from the high Alps in France. In fact, this particular glacier is called the Mer de Glace. That means river of ice. It's beautiful. I was there last year. Now, the story I want to tell about ice actually is interesting. Remember when I held up the ice here and it was all melting and dripping? It still is. It's a good thing it's in my little bowl. Well, turns out I was at the Mer de Glace about 15 years ago. And I went back and I found a picture that I took at almost this exact same place. Let me show you that picture. This is from 2004. See that? That's me in 2004. See the glacier there? Can you see what's different? Let's look at the other one and compare them. Can you tell what's different? There's last year. There's 2004. There's a lot less ice last year than there was just 15 years ago. The ice is melting. a lot of the ice in our world's glaciers are melting. In fact, I found an old postcard of the Mer de Glace from 1890. There it is, and you can see it pouring over the edge of the mountain down into the valley. And there's a photograph from 1919 that somebody took from a plane. You can see it sneaking along that beautiful glacier. Now here's an aerial photograph from a plane last year when I was there. The ice is melted all the way back to there. It doesn't even get to the end of the valley, and it certainly isn't pouring over anymore. You see, ice in the world's glaciers is starting to melt. It's been melting, well, for at least 100 years. We have this data, these observations to show that. Now there's another place, or two other places you might know, besides ice in the mountains, where there are giant, huge ice sheets. Can you think of those very cold places that are completely covered with ice? Those places are at the top and the bottom of the earth. Antarctica on the bottom and Greenland on the top of the earth. And they're covered with ice. But that ice is melting too. And I'll bring this a little bit closer. I want to show you some pictures of that melting ice that's covering the land in Antarctica and Greenland. That's where that ice is cracking off. Here it's splashing off. And you can tell when that ice melts, where does it go? Where does it end up? It ends up going into the ocean. The ice flows into the ocean. So all that ice from the mountain glaciers and from Greenland and Antarctica, as it warms up and it melts, just like our ice right here, it flows into the ocean. Now, when it goes in the ocean, what do you think happens? It makes the seas rise. Now, back when the dinosaurs were alive, about 80, 90, 100 million years ago, there was no ice in Antarctica. There was no ice covering Greenland. They were completely ice-free. So can you guess how high the seas were back then? If all the ice had melted and had rushed into the oceans, the seas were much higher. Now, this is a tricky picture. This is a reconstructed map of what it looked like during the Cretaceous period. A lot of things are different here, but let's just focus on North America up there. Look, the whole center of North America is completely covered with water. The whole northern half of Africa completely underwater. And Europe almost completely underwater. And we can make these maps, these reconstructions, because we have rocks that tell the stories. The ice, of course, is gone from this time, but we have this chalk rock that I showed you. That's from Europe, right here. France was underwater. Most of France was underwater during the Cretaceous, and that's why we made this chalk rock in Normandy. Now, today, if the glaciers are melting, and that's what we're seeing, that means that today the sea is rising again. And that can be a problem. Now, nobody thinks the seas are going to rise so much that it floods half of North America and all of Europe and half of Africa. But that's what happened 100 million years ago. The tricky thing is that right now, people are putting so much CO2 into the sky so fast. You can watch my energy episode about cold, remember about that. They're putting it so fast into the sky that the Earth can't keep up by taking CO2 out to make more chalk. So that means that right now it's getting warmer with all that CO2 in the sky, and that's melting the ice and making the seas rise. We have to worry about that if you live on the coast, like I do in Boston, Massachusetts. As those seas rise, we have to worry about that flooding. My goodness, I'm looking at my ice again here. It's melted a lot. I wonder if you can tell how much water is already in our little ocean here just in the time that I've been sitting and talking to you. Well, I hope you enjoyed my story today. My story about one of the most important rocks, ice, and how it is melting and melting. Bye-bye.